To all our families in LA, these wildfires are relentless. And for those with asthma, we know that this is an intense and challenging time. Today, we are going to be talking about protecting our lungs and protecting our loved ones in the face of wildfires and asthma. Hi guys, welcome back to RTs Share Tea, where respiratory therapists live out loud. With me, your host, Linda Fry, the Asthma Lady. Yes, welcome everyone. Welcome to anyone new. And yeah, guys, we are talking about these wildfires. And my heart goes out to anyone that is dealing with this or who has family members that are dealing with these wildfires. Wildfires they worsen, make asthma symptoms worse, because you have to imagine these tiny particulate matters and toxic gases being in the air, and those with asthma breathing this stuff in. So it is very concerning. And once again, my heart goes out to anyone that is dealing with this and those that support patients and folks that have to go through this. So it is a lot, you know. All right, guys, so I want to read to you guys some things about wildfires. And full disclosure, I am not a wildfire expert. I am a registered respiratory therapist and certified asthma educator. So I really wanted to educate those that have asthma who have to deal with these things. But what I'm going to do is read to you from a reputable organization like the Red Cross, what they are telling us to do in regards to wildfires. Okay, so the American Red Cross, right? So it says that wildfires affect all of us, you know, because these type of the air, it is all over once these things happen. So a wildfire is an unwanted fire that happens in a large area. So something like a forest or a greenland, right? And so, and they are particularly common in dry areas. So the common time wildfire season is in the fall, spring, and summer. So when it gets hot. And so what the American Red Cross wants you to know is when these things, before they happen, to be prepared in advance. So things like, they're just saying things like, be prepared, have a go kit with 3 days of supplies, because they want you to, once you get word from local authorities to evacuate, like, they are not playing. You need to evacuate as quickly as possible. So the advice, the tips are to have a go kit with 3 days of supplies that you can easily carry, right? So if you're staying at home, for some reason you have to stay home during an evacuation, you need at least 2 weeks of supplies to stay at home if needed, right? And then you need at least a month supply of medication. So for those of us asthma folks, we need at least a month supply of medication in a child-proof container. So these are great tips. So when it's time to go, we want to make sure we are up to go. So what they're saying is just making sure you stay informed. You're listening to your local authorities. You have a way to get emergency alerts. Have a backup battery for your phone, right? Even battery powered radios. So all of these things, you know, much needed, and to monitor weather conditions. So it's good to know what's going on with the weather and your air quality index. So these are things you should be getting the information that you need from these things. So yeah, just Yeah, they're just saying that wildfire smoke is a mixture of air, pollutants that are harmful to our health. So basically what I was just saying about tiny particulate matters and toxic gas that we are breathing into our lungs. So if you need more information on wildfires, organizations such as American Red Cross is a really good place to go. So I'll put that in the description as well. Okay, so to piggyback off that, now here are some practical tips for those with asthma. Stay informed. So just like I was saying, what the American Red Cross was saying, we need to stay informed. So check with your local authorities, resources such as your local health department, so they can tell you what's going on with usually they'll have things such as the air quality index, so you can know what's going on with the air and letting you know if it's safe to go outside or not and what to do. So stay informed. Another tip is to create a safe indoor environment, an indoor space. So using things like a HEPA air purifier. I had a few episodes back on air purifiers and why their benefits, so I can put that in the description for that too. But making sure you have something like that on when you're inside the house during exposure to wildfire smoke. So, and also being able to seal the windows, making sure that none of that stuff is seeping inside, making sure we have our fire detectors and our carbon monoxide alarms, that they are functioning properly and they are in our homes. And then also avoiding things like candles, burning candles, and using the stove as possible, because we want to make sure that we have good ventilation in the home. And if you're using your stove, then you might have to crack that window open, which is what we are trying not to do during exposure to wildfire smoke. Tip number 3. Protect your lungs when you're outside. So things like, straight up just avoiding going outside if the air quality is really bad. So if you can stay home, stay home. And for those that have to go outside, using an N95 mask over your mouth and your nose. All right. So making sure that we have those masks on us while we are outside. Tip number 4, staying on top of our asthma management. So making sure that we have things like our inhalers, right? Those reliever inhalers on us at all times during exposure to wildfire smoke, especially for those that know that smoke is an asthma trigger. So making sure that wherever you go, your inhaler goes with you, okay? Also, making sure that we have our asthma action plan. So making sure that we have these written plans close to us and for our loved ones, for those that do have asthma, making sure that there's a written plan so we know what to do if things are getting worse. Oh, and also we can't forget that if the medication is not, if it doesn't feel like it's doing enough, to make sure that to go back to your doctor, like let them know that, hey, listen, I have been exposed to this wildfire smoke. I had to go outside. Is there anything else I can do? So going back to your healthcare provider, the healthcare team, and just come up with a plan together to help you through this time. And tip number 5 is just being prepared. Like we mentioned earlier, what the American Red Cross said is just making sure we have access to those go bags, because when it's ready to go, we cannot play. It is time to go. Making sure we got those meds, making sure that we have those supplies ready for us and our loved ones. Okay, so what can healthcare workers do to help patients during wildfire smoke exposure? Well, first thing we could do is educate patients, right? So kind of like what I'm doing here today, sharing resources and making sure that patients understand how to take care of themselves and their loved ones that have asthma during this time, to recognize signs and symptoms of getting worse. You know, if their asthma is getting worse, understanding the heads up, recognizing these things, possibly having access to a peak flow meter so they can take their peak flow readings. So things like this. So just being proactive with education. We can also, as healthcare providers, also advise on preventative care. So just making sure that patients understand that they need easy access to their medication, and making sure they have the prescriptions that they need, and following up to see if that they are picking up the prescription, if this is prior to wildfire season, and if they're actually going through a wildfire smoke exposure. Just making sure that they understand that this is very important to have the medication on site. And like I mentioned before, advocating for resources. So making sure patients know where to go, and having access to things like air purifiers and masks, and just resources, especially for communities that are underserved. So if you know of an organization, a community-based organization, or a program, an asthma program that has these type of resources, being able to link them to those organizations is a great way to help out. And also just being accessible. So for those who are dealing with wildfire smoke exposure, just giving them opportunities, if you're not already, for them to see you, have access to you virtually, you know, instead of having to come physically into the office, or to the site, the clinic, the hospital, you know, or if you're mobile and you can get to them, you know, that would be great, right? And also just being emotionally supportive for those that are going through anxiety in regards to wildfire, smoke exposure, and dealing with asthma. So just making ourselves available, knowing that this can be traumatic for them. So, all right, guys, remember to stay informed, be prepared, and be proactive in the face of wildfire smoke exposure and asthma. Thank you so much, guys, for being here with us here today. I hope you learned something. My heart goes out to you guys who are dealing with this stuff. So it's just good for us to be informed. So yes. So anyway, guys, remember that we are on most podcast platforms on Wednesdays, except for when I'm on vacation. We are now on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Please support us and follow us on those platforms. And also we are on YouTube. If you like the information that you received here today, please subscribe to our channel for more information. I'm also on Instagram at the Asthma Lady with the 2 E's, RT. All right, so I will put that in the description as well. Thank you. And as always, remember that asthma management is not about perfection, it's about progress, guys. So we get it. We understand you. And I also got asthma too, so I get it. All right, guys. So I'll see you next time.